All right, let's see. What do we got here? Memology. Former Democrat Rep. Jamal Bowman claims Democrats do not organize to confront Republicans at town halls despite Senator Schumer's recent admissions. Calls Musk a thief and a Nazi. Oh, see, there you go. People still calling people Nazis. Oh no, people don't use those words anymore.
They don't even dispute that the government should.
Do I ever get to finish?
Hold on a second. They don't even dispute that the government should shrink. They just don't like how it's being done.
My point is, you played a video of a town hall as though it's evidence of some broad anger that's out there, and it's not. This is what happens every time there's a Republican majority in the House. The Democrats organize, they go to town hall, they go to town halls, they organize, they get loud, they get viral moments.
I'm sorry, our party is not that organized. Our party is not that organized.
It's true. It's true. Just look, Schumer said they want to organize.
Talk about my party. I'm just
Schumer said it.
But my point is, this is just an organized way to get viral moments and get the clips
Oh,
played on
Schumer
nighttime
said
news
it.
shows, and that's what's happening.
It's not true, man.
Yes,
Hold
it
on,
is.
hold on.
Last word to Jamal.
That's not true.
That's not true. That's not
We
true.
are mobilizing
Yes.
in New York. We have
Very
people going to the
sure.
Republican districts and going after these Republicans who are voting for this and forcing them to either change their vote or face the consequences.
Either change their vote or face the consequences.
Face the consequences. To either change their vote or face the consequences. Change their vote or face the consequences. To either forcing them to either change their vote or face the consequences for this, and forcing them to either change their vote or face the consequences for this, and forcing them to either change their vote or face the consequences.
And this shows again the American people do not trust Elon Musk.
Sorry, I
And
had to
Elon
keep
Musk
playing
is incompetent in his position. And how do we know? Because they fired tens of thousands of people. It was challenged in court. The court said the people have to go back, and now the people are coming back. He's incompetent. He's a thief. He's a Nazi.
What do you mean?
And people don't trust him.
Oh my God, bro. Oh, hell.
He's a Nazi. All right, then I'll be a Nazi. I'll fucking gas you. Gas you with my foot up your ass. Let's see another crashing out person, Jack Doherty. Let's see what's going on here.
It's safe to say this disrespectful IRL streamer is in denial that he destroyed his own career. Once he acted like he was on the top of the world, harassing people.
Yeah, didn't he
in public for
recently get
stream
fucked up
content,
because
then
he
hiding behind
actually
his bodyguard
fucked
when
up on
anyone
his bike
confronted
and
him about his behavior.
fucked up his shoulder and collarbone? Oh, this one. Yeah, we already know about this one.
And now his luck is seemingly running out, as he just had a complete meltdown after being banned again and having his appeal for his ban being denied. So it truly seems like the career he once had has now been taken away from him yet again. So today we're talking about Jack Doherty. Likely the second most disliked
can't stream
streamer in the
online
world.
anymore.
After getting back from covering the most disliked one in Korea, I realized Jack has been imploding on social media over the last couple of weeks. So remember when Jack said this in his comeback stream about 2 months ago?
But I'm gonna be good. I'm not gonna be too cocky. Just for the first week, just because everyone that didn't believe in me, man. But listen, I'm gonna be way more humble moving forward, and I'm never gonna fuck up again. A million times. But trust me, bro. It was an accident. What happened? What got me banned was an accident. Accidents happen, bro. That's why it's called an accident.
Okay, have fun. I don't buy it. I guess we'll see how that ages. Yeah. That aged like milk left out in a hot cart because he's banned again. And he can't even claim that what happened was an accident this time. If you've been following my series of videos covering Jack Doherty's situation, you probably remember the incident that forever changed his life as he knew it, the McLaren car crash, which resulted him in getting a permanent ban from Kick for reckless driving. And the quotation marks were there because he was unbanned. But not before the desperate attempts to get money from his fans through launching meme coin pump and dumps. Obviously, Kick somehow decided to unban him after 3 months of his supposed permanent ban. And obviously, you just saw the clip of Jack saying from now on, he was going to be a humble, down-to-earth person that was going to behave on the platform. Well, his career is basically a streaming equivalent of a zombie, as it just keeps on dying and coming back to life, but each time he returns, it's more decayed and brain dead than ever, because the new ban comes in just 9 days after Kick reversed the previous perma-ban on January 9th of this year. And I say perma-ban because you never know with Kick, clearly, because the last one was supposed to be permanent, but who knows? But either way, bro's like, yeah, I learned my lesson, I'm going to behave. And then he didn't even last like 2 weeks. Dude is a Hall of Fame moron, because Kick is clearly one of those platforms where you really have to try to get banned. It takes a special kind of moron to get banned on Kick. As the only other streamer I know that's banned from Kick is Johnny Smalley, and he might be the dumbest human being on the planet. But you may be asking, what happened this time that forced Kick to ban Jack one more time permanently? Well, during a stream on January 18th, in which he was collaborating with World of T-Shirts, or Joshua Block, who we've also covered here on this channel.
Oh wait, wasn't
Jack,
that guy
while walking
recently
around,
got fucked
slapped
up in Japan?
the face by a stream sniper. And in case you guys don't know what stream sniping is, it's essentially using someone's stream to find out where they are. Originally, this was in-game, but in the IRL streaming context, the stream sniper's purpose is to track down the streamer's location and then insert themselves into the stream somehow. Like, this guy just showed up and slapped Jack. Now, getting slapped it sucks, but it's not really a bannable offense because it's not your fault. There's nothing you could really do there. But it's safe to say what happens next in this clip definitely is, because instead of just handling the situation reasonably to avoid even more conflict, Jack goes and beats up this guy with the security guards. He chases the guy down and then hits him back, and of course, his bodyguard has to jump in and help, while the cameraman is recording everything. Because you know, Jack has to live stream every terrible decision in his life, including assaulting someone for content. So obviously, Kick decided they'd had enough and banned him again. He only found out later when he was already in the car, checking his phone, and someone sent him a screenshot of his Kick page that read, "Oops, something went wrong." We can't find the page you're looking for.
I think I just got banned on Kick.
Well, yeah, because you just assaulted someone. You just illegally and then ran away. You fucking IRL streamers.
Oh my god, dog. I guess you got banned on Kick because
Isn't Ice Poseidon about to get fucked too in Thailand? Or wherever that dumbass is.
not. God damn it. I think I did, bro. I think I did get banned. Bro, I lasted a month.
I lasted for a month.
Yeah, I'm cooked, bro. Oh
I lasted for a month.
How is that fair, guys? This is why I don't like Kick, bro. It's like...
You defended yourself.
I'm defending myself and I can get banned on, like, that's why I don't do anything back to anyone ever in the past, because it's just like I don't want to get banned. It's like I do something back to him and I'm banned. Like,
so Jack was hit first, but what happened was not self-defense. It was a retaliation attack that he live streamed himself doing. I'm kind of baffled at how careless he is with his platform. Okay,
don't retaliate. Don't do it.
Let your security handle it, and you go on and continue streaming. You don't live stream yourself beating up the guy to protect your ego. The only way that's self-defense is if he was continuously a threat to you. But he bitch slapped you and ran. Retaliating would not be self-defense, because all he did was he stooped to the instigator's level. Any creator would know you can't broadcast yourself fighting someone. And the instigator here got exactly what he wanted, as Jack is now permanently banned from streaming on Kick and has essentially lost his streaming career. All because this instigator decided to smack him. That is like the ultimate W for this instigator. So, how long is this permanent ban going to last this time?
Who knows?
Who knows? But it's already been over a month, and it doesn't seem like he's getting unbanned anytime soon, at least for now, because Kick was a major revenue source for Jack. as I covered in the interview with Pat God in my last video. So getting banned for a second
Oh
time
yeah,
in
that's
less
who it
than a
was.
year,
Yeah, Pat God was the other one that was able to get an interview and flame the shit out of him.
that definitely hits where it hurts. His wallet. So recently he's moved to party.com again, a much smaller
Oh, went to
platform
Party,
with far fewer streamers and viewers than Kick, which is definitely not ideal for someone who honestly is just used to throwing money at all of his problems.
Yeah.
But usually after some time after the punishment, streamers can appeal their ban, explain that they've learned their lesson, and try to get back, you know, to good graces on the platform. But Jack, he tried that approach in the dumbest way possible, and it really did not go well for him. So in one of his recent streams on Twitch and Party, Jack revealed that he sent Kick's staff an email that he wrote using ChatGPT.
Guys, I try to get unbanned from Kick, right? You guys want to hear what my message was to Kick? Let me know. I wrote a message. McKinley, remember the message I wrote this morning and I put it in ChatGPT and they gave me the but then they denied it. So yeah, I'm in the ass. Kick suck my you and lick my.
Well, I mean, obvious.
Dude,
why would you say
think was
that,
going
too?
to happen here? Did you really think they weren't going to realize it was written in ChatGPT? Obviously, his appeal didn't work as he expected, so he absolutely lost it on stream.
Send our apology for any disruption this may have caused. Yo, if you don't disruption, the all 200,000 followers are built on your platform. You and lick my Eddie. You and all your Australian friends, they all suck. I'm sorry, you guys are a bunch of f***ies. You're turning into Twitch, and you know what? Twitch is better because I'm actually live on Twitch right now because it's not a liberal ass platform like you guys. I hope Trump keeps you off the border as well.
She's crashing out, dude.
Oh, am I on Twitch? Am I getting banned?
It's fucking crashing out.
I mean, at this point, it's just pathetic. It also just says so much about his content when you're getting banned on Kick of all places. I also love how he's streaming on Twitch while actively dissing Twitch at the same time, saying that Kick is becoming like them.
I stream on Twitch
all he
and
wants
diss it
to
all
be
the
on
time.
his Kick, because his big problem is he's built this audience of kids.
But there's
that
good
orbit on
reasons to
Kick
diss a
and not
platform
Twitch,
that's done
which is also
some
problematic
shady shit.
because you know everything this guy shills is 18 plus, OF, and gambling. But after his meltdown, he decides to challenge Eddie.
It's all
this
for
one of the
content,
CEOs of
right,
Kick,
Twitch?
to a boxing match. And
Twitch?
2 seconds later,
Bunch
he then
of
steps
bitches.
back and says, "No, wait, the CEO of Party, he should be the one fighting Eddie."
Yeah, if
while
you guys
he's
could
supposed to fight
get
me.
gladiator
You're just
fights
adding
and
random
get people to
his
pay
beef
for
out of
that shit
nowhere.
on Twitch,
Eddie,
oh
go on,
man.
baby, do it
I mean,
well.
you guys
I'll
kind of
box you.
already
Let's
do it with
box Eddie,
UFC,
I'll box
right?
you. Honestly, the party creator should box you. Party creator, you box Eddie.
You
I
might
box
as
Leon.
well
Let's go.
just
Biggest match of all time. Winner, the losing team.
right, put a
has to delete their
dollar
platform
amount
and
to
their
violence,
platform.
right,
So, like,
Twitch?
say
I
Eddie
mean, you're
loses
already
and Leon
technically
loses,
doing that, right?
Eddie has to just
With
delete
Hassan.
Kick, get right.
But I guess Jack's career isn't the only thing he's been crashing lately. Obviously, he's had the McLaren incident, but now an electric bike incident as well, because apparently he bought one of those and that sent him to the hospital a couple times.
All right, guys, I crashed my dirt bike another time, and this time I think I broke my collarbone and hit my head. No more.
And as I hinted to earlier, this isn't the first time something like this has happened to him.
Really? Clack! Clack!
Am I bleeding bad? Just go like this.
Yeah. You can do that and then go back to the house if you want. Just use your shirt, maybe.
What?
Why? One of those clips there, like where he got really close to the road, like, what are you doing, dude? At least the only upside to the crash that sent him to the hospital, which I'm about to show, is that he was wearing a helmet.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah, he fell straight, yeah, he fell what happened was, he fell straight on his face and shoulder. He went down right in an angle. He fucked up his collarbone and everything.
Yeah, I'm good.
Holy.
Oh.
No, he's not good. He shouldn't be moving around that much.
My God.
My head.
You're good. Helmet.
Why were you sitting on the bike when you jumped? Also, why were you doing this at a gas station?
Yeah,
Jack is extremely lucky in unusual ways. Thankfully, that bike didn't fly and hit someone or damage someone's property. And honestly, I don't know how he's always managed to get away with so many stupid decisions throughout his career up until this point. Like when he crashed the car, he left the accident without a single bruise on his body. after getting permanently banned on Kick, it only took 3 months for him to be forgiven, which is why it's permanently banned. Who knows how long he's actually going to be banned here. It seems like maybe they'll be a little bit more serious this time, but who knows? So maybe that's just the appeal to his content. Jack is basically just the architect and mastermind of his own downfall, yet he just keeps on walking this very thin line, swaying and nearly losing his balance multiple times while people just wait for the next slip up. He's essentially the embodiment of a slow car crash that you just can't really look away from. Metaphorically and obviously literally as well sometimes. So I guess only time will tell what will actually happen, but until then, it seems like he's not coping with this decision well at all. But other than that, YouTube thinks you'll enjoy this video, and hey, if you're new here, feel free to subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the next video. No, actually, I will see you in the next video. Show up for my next video, guys. That would actually be really cool.
There we have it. More disrespectful streamers falling. Yeah, man, they're falling left and right now. And you got people paying for their crash out. Or egging on their crash out, really. Department of War, Captain Puppy Pants thinks it's the 1940s. Elon Musk will be briefed by the Pentagon about the USA's top secret plans against China. Would there be a war? Oh yeah, yeah, we already know about this. Unlawful nationwide injunctions by the radical left judges could very well lead to the destruction of our country. These people are lunatics who do not care, even a little bit, about the repercussions from their very dangerous and incorrect decisions and rulings. Lawyers endlessly search the United States for these judges and file lawsuits as quickly as they find them. It is then the obligation of the law-abiding agencies of the government to have these orders overturned. The danger is unparalleled. These judges want to assume the power of the presidency without having to attain 80 million votes, basically. They want all of the advantages with none of the risks. Correct. Right? I mean, if anything, right? The judges want to take the executive power away from the president. That's essentially what they're doing. Right? They want to strip all power from the presidency because it's Donald J. Trump. But if it was Biden, oh no, it's fine. He can do whatever he wants, that senile old fuck. Again, a president who has to be allowed to act quickly and decisively about such matters as returning murderers, drug lords, rapists, and other such criminals back to their homeland or to other locations that will allow our country to be safe and secure, you fucking asshat Democrats. Fucking domestic terrorists. It is our goal to make America great again. And such a high aspiration can never be done if radical and highly partisan judges are allowed to stand in the way of justice. Stop nationwide injunctions now before it is too late. If Justice Roberts and the United States Supreme Courts do not fix this toxic and unprecedented situation immediately, our country is in various serious trouble. There you have it. Yeah, you had...
There has been thought, I believe, given to this. Senator Ron Wyden has already issued statements, for example, advising what we should do in a situation like this, which I concur, which is that I believe that the Biden administration should ignore this ruling. I think that
Biden administration should ignore this ruling. They want to ignore judges. Texas judge rules to suspend approval of abortion pill. DOJ can appeal. Well, Washington judge says drug can remain on market in at least All blue states.
You know, the courts have the legitimacy and they rely on the legitimacy of their rulings. And what they are currently doing is engaged in an unprecedented and dramatic erosion of the legitimacy of the courts. It is the justices.
What happened, AOC? You allow Biden to do it, but no, it's Trump now. Can't let him do it. Fucking. Fucking bitches. Fucking bitches in our politics. Okay, modern audience is very upset. Very upset at critics of the AC Shadows. Let's see what's going on.
Despite AC Shadows being officially released, the modern audience types are not actually any happier about this game. As a matter of fact, it looks like they're getting even more upset, considering that they're the ones who've been ardently defending this game and Ubisoft. You'd think that, you know, they might hush up and be playing the game that they've been advocating for this whole time. But no. Instead, we're met with posts like these. I'm concerned about my friend. He's playing Yasuke Simulator. Okay, quick side note for anyone not familiar with Yasuke Simulator. It's just a little indie game that someone made as a complete joke towards Ubisoft and AC Shadows. Like, the developers literally call themselves history-accurate developers. And the release date is the same release date that AC Shadows has, being March 20th, 2025. And yeah, to my understanding, at least,
Yasuke Simulator.
And is nothing to be taken seriously. Just people memeing around and poking fun at Ubisoft. Alright, now back over to that post, once again titled, I'm concerned about my friend. He's playing Yasuke Simulator. So apparently there's an AC Shadows parody game called Yasuke Simulator from History Accurate Developer Studio. My friend is playing it at the moment, and I'm pretty worried he's going down the right-wing/reactionary pipeline. From what I've googled, only chuds are talking about the game, but when I checked Steam and some random streamer on Twitch, it doesn't seem to be bigoted, at least not blatantly. Has anyone played it? Should I be concerned? I love how this person tries to insult people as being chuds, saying that only chuds are talking about the game, as this person is actually talking about the game via their own post. This lack of self-awareness is not the only thing I'll be showing you about this person. There's another great example of this person having a massive lack of self-awareness, but we'll get to that after we finish this post. And so it's also hilarious to me that they accuse other people of being like right-wing/reactionary simply because they'll play some AC Shadows parody game. Hey, if you parody AC Shadows, if you mock Ubisoft, you're right-wing or reactionary. What kind of loser actually thinks like that? It's such...
Yeah, I don't... Yeah, I think the issue of politics leaking into everything nowadays is is getting on people's nerves.
Firmly online and brain-rotted behavior. These types of people constantly pretend they're these wonderful revolutionary
get your
leftists.
politics out of the
Their form
fucking video
leftism
game.
is simply defending giant corporations and being the biggest bootlickers that they can possibly be. The top comments here are not any better. For example, this one saying, "Call him out. Yo, why are you playing the racism game?" Oh my gosh, these people are so weird.
The racism game. The racism game, because you can't say certain thing or talk about certain events within the world, right? IRL situations within the world, because there's Chinese it's international players, so they obviously can't allow certain things.
Immediately. He claims it's a parody of Ubisoft as a company. That it's not.
But I mean, Ubisoft is worse because they're basically they're making fun of the Japanese culture.
Not racist or whatever, but then it's literally called Yasuke Simulator. So what? What the frick? Why are you so pressed over that title? Look at this exchange.
To me, I never cared about the tomb raiding stuff because they had those in the other games.
How does that make it racist?
I mean, it is kind of fucked up that they're allowing you to deface shrines and shit. I mean, that's kind of fucked.
That still doesn't make it racist. Using assault rifles isn't really a black.
I don't know to what effect that you can deface the shrine or whatnot, but.
Gun violence is largely attributed
I mean,
to
there's poor choices, let's just say, in the whole Assassin's Creed game.
Not to mention, it's full of Asian stereotypes as well. And they get a response that reads, I think you linking shooter elements to racism is more racist than the game itself.
And then given all the
By
backlash
the
they
way,
were
this
getting over
subreddit
the
is a
years, right?
discussion subreddit specifically for the Gaming Circle Jerk subreddit. If you don't have the misfortune of being familiar with the Gaming Circle Jerk subreddit, essentially it's filled with these modern audience types. But anyways, the modern audience OP from that post, the one who's all upset at their friend for playing Yasuke Simulator, I'd mentioned that they had another great example, hilarious example, of their lack of self-awareness, and that's 8 days ago they made this comment saying,
Fucking Star-Lord, 1v1 Star-Lords.
There's hundreds of millions of players worldwide, coming from cultures from all over the world. A huge amount of them are children, often younger than 10. A lot of them are
Correct.
people with untreated mental issues or people fed with political agenda. If you want to find,
I mean, would you have them battle it out
look for this stuff only
in
to get outraged about
competitive
it, you are
play,
part of the
or would you
problem.
have
But
them
additional
battle
media
it
and
out
influencers start to call out these
IRL,
terrible takes
blood
because they bring
sports?
hate clicks. It's just profitable
Which
to
is
make
it?
a clown of yourself, to make a clown out of yourself. Spaces like Kotaku in Action and Gaming Circle Jerk both contribute to this degeneracy. So on one hand, to at least give them some credit, they called out the Gaming Circle Jerk subreddit. But 8 days later, they're on the discussion subreddit for Gaming Circle Jerk, literally making a clown out of themselves with a terrible take. Like doing what 8 days ago they were trying to call out. I just don't understand how people are like this. I think some people just can't handle being online so much. Like some people can be online all day and they're totally chill and fine. But some people, like this person perhaps, they just suffer from so much brain rot. Like this sort of person really needs to go outside, get some fresh air. And on that note, speaking of people like that, let's hop over to journalism.
Jesus.
As we've got an article from Forbes. Paul Tassi.
Controversies are nothing.
Earlier today, he released an article titled, "It's abundantly clear the Assassin's Creed Shadows controversies are nothing." He writes, now that Assassin's Creed Shadows has launched and players and critics have gotten their hands on the game, they've discovered something. This is an Assassin's Creed game. Wow, no way. It's fine, even pretty good, but this is simply nothing out of the ordinary for the series, even if many would have you believe otherwise. The narrative about the game was drowned by social media accusations of it being woke by using Black Samurai Yasuke as one of its 2 leads.
Oh,
and while that
no.
drama farming was always ridiculous, it is even more so when you play the game and realize that there's nothing remotely controversial about any of this. His inclusion, how he's portrayed, or what liberties may have been taken with the character in a series where Leonardo da Vinci builds you a hang glider and you fist fight the Pope. This story is not all that dissimilar to what we saw years ago with Tom Cruise's The Last Samurai, or more recently, our good friend, the Anjin Shogun. 2 characters that drew far less controversy because, well, you know. I'd argue that Yasuke's story is more interesting because of his race, and the dynamic that creates within Japanese society, and his place and ascension within it. Okay, so he's obviously trying to just make some sort of blanketed racism accusation here regarding why Tom Cruise is the last samurai getting a controversy and Yasuke in AC Shadows has. However, this is a false equivalence. The issue is not racism. The issue is the lack of respect for Japanese culture that AC Shadows has constantly depicted throughout its promotion, which has got a ton of backlash from the people of Japan, including the government of Japan, the National Diet, all the way up to Japan's own prime minister condemning the game. On the other hand, he's bringing up The Last Samurai, Tom Cruise movie from not just years ago, but like, I don't know, 15 years ago or something like that. And that's a movie which you can look up online. Apparently, people in Japan actually did like that movie. They pointed out some historical inaccuracies with it, of course, saying that, like, you know, Hollywood was being Hollywood with some of the things in that movie. But ultimately, it showed a great respect towards the Japanese culture and depicted the samurai as very noble people, Japanese people as very hardworking, noble people. And for the most part, from what I've seen online, the people of Japan like that movie. At the very least, they didn't find it to be highly disrespectful like they have AC Shadows. So once again, this is an issue about respect or lack of respect towards the Japanese people. This is not an issue of racism, despite what some journalists and or modern audience types on social media would have you believe. That's another thing I find ironic. They constantly go on about, like, being against racism, but they're the ones propagating this racist narrative the most. And as a matter of fact, if we play their game, like, if they want to talk about racism, I find it very suspicious how they constantly
all they do is say, oh no, we're not racist, you're racist. And it's like, what? We didn't even say anything about racism. Like, what the you're just being super disrespectful, you fucking idiots. Now you're sounding like you're racist.
Now, of course, they may try and deny that.
Fucking mask off right in front of you. It's like, dude, what are you guys saying?
Much louder than their words. And for years now, we have all seen what those actions are, or in some cases, what those lack of actions are. Paul Tassi concludes his article with 2 paragraphs, the first one reading, "I've seen some pivots to other woke aspects, which are things like the option to form non-straight romances with characters, an optional path. To me, this speaks not to how games have become more woke, but how weird and nonsensical this sort of pushback has become. Remember Mass Effect, the nearly 20-year-old series everyone likes that has been doing this kind of thing for eons? Games haven't changed. These commentators and fans have, which have become a pit of rage-baiting Twitter users and YouTubers, and their audiences making something out of literally nothing time and time again." Okay, so I'm not the most familiar with Mass Effect, but to my understanding, none of the people in Mass Effect are real, right? It's like complete science fiction stuff. Now, on the other hand, Yasuke was a real person, which is even a part of Paul Tassi's own argument. And so there's a huge difference in making fictional characters LGBT and taking a real person and then making them LGBT when there was no evidence to suggest that they were in fact LGBT.
I mean, they did it with the same thing with the people who passed away in Pompeii, right? The Pompeii volcano people, because some people were caught melted together right close by to each other. It's like, dude, what are you... It's like, you guys are fucking retarded.
Real person's sexual orientation like that is actually pretty creepy. So yeah, I think that's a really...
Yeah, it's like they're trying to fucking make up... they're trying to imagine some shit that didn't happen.
Well, none of this matters, but it does matter. Ubisoft is taking steps to protect its employees.
They're like trying to rewrite reality in some form.
Not just the company, but individual developers. Again, for what? Because Ubisoft is using a historical figure to tell a story that has already been told similarly in other media with white guys? That the Japanese representation is a woman, not a Jinsekai Tsushima samurai? This is utter nonsense and discourse about practically...
Yeah, and then there's also some scientists in the community who are trying to do some like weird-ass research too, so it's like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
Such damage control. Seen no evidence of like actual Ubisoft developers being targeted by mass amounts of gamers in any way, shape, or form. People are targeting Ubisoft, the corporation, with criticism, and this game with criticism. They're not going after individual devs. And something else I mentioned in coverage about this exact topic from a few days ago was how Ubisoft attempted to say that their own developers are scared to mention that they work at Ubisoft. And I find it more likely that their developers are simply embarrassed to work at Ubisoft, given how terrible the reputation of Ubisoft has become. Not that they're afraid of being harassed by massive armies of gamers. Once again, something that we have no evidence of actually happening. Furthermore, that whole thing is simply a PR statement from Ubisoft. Why would anyone just blindly believe some like PR statement from these corpos? Couldn't be me. Thankfully, couldn't be the sort of people that watch my videos too. Y'all are wiser than that, more based than that, and we'll leave it there for today. So let me know what you think about all this stuff. AC Shadows has officially released, and yet the modern audience types are still finding ways to get upset. If you enjoyed my coverage, please consider liking and or subscribing to the channel. Have a great weekend.
Yeah, they're cooked. No, they're good. I didn't even buy AC Shadows. I was just watching other people play it. I was watching the Caveman Lord, Mr. Asmongold, play it. I mean, the combat seemed fine, right? The gameplay was okay. It's just the story and the interactions with the character. Right? It's an Assassin's Creed game with just weird fucking dynamics, right? They even tried to start doing it in what was the Assassin's Creed, the one with the Rome, I forgot not the Egyptian one, but the one before that. Was that one? I forgot. The Greece and Greek one or whatever. Where you could become the woman or the man. Brother or the sister, and then the brother or the sister would become the antagonist at the end, whoever you picked. Anyways, yeah. What is this? Oh, I don't know. Anyways, let us away. All right, let's take a look at the Descent. because this is a part of California bullshit. Let's see how it goes.
Hi, I'm Judge Van Dyke, and welcome to my chambers. I'm making this video as part of my opinion in the
Hi, Judge Van Dyke.
In this case, the state of California made the argument, which the majority has now accepted, that a magazine holding more than 10 rounds is just an accessory, not an arm protected by the Second Amendment's right of the people to keep and bear arms. I think anyone with a basic familiarity with firearms could show you that this attempted distinction is simply inconsistent with reality. I alluded to this during oral argument when I asked California's counsel about the balance of the tests that are proposed for what qualifies as an arm protected by the Second Amendment. Let's go to that exchange now.
Can I ask you a question about that? Because
Yes, Your Honor.
so the way you're treating magazines, it seems like you.
No,
can
we saw
use
this
some sort of
yesterday.
Rationale as between a non-semi-automatic firearm, say a lever action or a bolt action or
Mhm.
a revolver type action, and a semi-automatic firearm. So I'm trying to figure out if you're saying, well, what we do is we say have people ever banned particularly dangerous rounds, and now we're saying large capacity.
Yeah. Has anyone banned any dangerous rounds, as in bullets, right? Ammunition. So it's like, what? That has never happened.
Magazines are particularly dangerous. Why couldn't that same reasoning be used to ban semi-automatic firearms
Yeah.
altogether? To
So
say-
there now he's going to the firearms. Okay, well you're saying that a component, the magazine, you're trying to ban that to lessen the I guess tool belt, if you will.
Because I mean, think about it. Like during the Revolutionary War, if the United States had had semi-automatic firearms that only held 5 to 10 rounds, it'd have been about 10 minutes.
Yeah, so he's saying the time, right? The time it would take to reload, to do all that thing. Well, it'd be right. If we had those firearms back in the right in that era, oh yeah, the battles would be over so quick. So quick.
And it would have been over, right?
Yeah.
Against muskets. So clearly, the semi-automatic mechanism is way more particularly dangerous.
Yes.
Than
In a
the
sense.
difference, the delta between a 10-round magazine.
Yeah, so they're saying the change in time between, or the change in mechanics of, say, the automatic versus the musket, right? That delta is a big difference, right?
Magazine. So why does your reasoning not mean that if this reasoning works, why does your reasoning not mean that a state could just ban the semi-automatic firearms altogether?
So if we're just
And so he brings up this one because they are already trying to do this. So he's trying to see, okay, if you're already saying ban right components of it, why not just say ban the whole firearm?
talking, Your Honor, about this initial sort of textual question, I think if you're dealing with a semi-automatic, that would fit the definition of an arm.
No, but that semi-automatic could be a revolver.
Oh.
Like it could be. I mean, just like that high-capacity magazine could be a lower-capacity magazine.
Right, Your Honor. So I think that would fit the definition of arm, and then you'd move on to the other aspects of the Bruin analysis at stage one.
So they're trying to say no matter the component, right? That component makes it the whole arm. And it's like, what? The fuck?
Is a particular.
See, this is the issue with people who don't know mechanics, machinery, like the moving parts of particular objects, or the mechanics of building certain things, right? And for these judges and for these fucking lawyers, all they do is argue and semantics and bullshit. They don't. Some of these people don't even know the fucking actual components of what they're talking about.
Weapon that's
they're just saying, "Oh yeah, it's this thing, and we want to ban the whole thing." Like, what? Fuck you.
In common use for self-defense, and we think Heller is clear that has to consider the character as
I'm
well
not
as
understanding
the numbers.
I guess I think I'm missing your response to my. It seems to me that just as you could say, are you saying that Yes, so it would be an arm under. You're not conceding that it would be an arm under stage 1. So why are you saying it wouldn't be an arm, but the semi-automatic versus revolver, say, distinction is something that we're stuck with? I mean, you would agree that you can't ban the automatic mechanism.
Well, an automatic mechanism, I think that you can ban. I think the Supreme Court has recognized.
No,
that
the
as
automatic mechanism is a term that semi-autos and full autos use an automatic mechanism.
Sure, Your Honor. I'm sorry for the confusion. No, I don't think that we could ban all semi-automatic weapons. I think Heller makes that clear. The point I was just making is, with respect to accessories, I think we have a difference of opinion where my friends suggest any accessory that is somehow helpful to armed self-defense.
So that's important, because your argument turns on whether you can characterize accessory. So you would say that the revolver versus semi-automatic is not an accessory, but that a magazine is this accessory. So what would you think about like a red dot sight, electro-optics, which many
clearly
firearms
accessories.
electronic optics nowadays. They're obviously an accessory because you could have iron sights. Could you ban those?
Well, so Your Honor, I'm not intimately familiar with that, and I do want to answer this question and make sure that I save time for rebuttal. I think that the question at the outset would be, is that, if it's an accessory, is it within the Teixeira principle that it's necessary to the realization of the right to self-defense? And you'd have to build a record and analyze it in that case.
So now they're tying it into the self. I hate those fucking people, man. Fuck you people. You fucking shit. Man, if a criminal came up to you and pointed a gun at you, you would be wanting a gun in your hands right then and there, you fucking piece of shit. What a lie. I hate these fucking assholes, dude.
A picture is sometimes worth 1,000 words. And here I hope you will agree that a video is at least worth that much. And I suppose at this point in the video is as good a time as any to apologize for any shortcomings of the video. This is the first video like this that I've ever made. And in our digital age, I fear that people have become accustomed to a production quality that I'm sure that I fall far short of.
Oh, no, I don't care. Your production quality. You can blame the YouTubers and Twitch streamers for that. And the kick streamers. They gotta fantasize their bullshit all the time. They gotta make their shit out of nothing. Because that's how they gotta make their money.
Instead, I share this because a rudimentary understanding of how guns are made.
Be entertaining monkeys.
Makes obvious why California's proposed test and the one my colleagues are
fucking animals.
I'm sure I could explain all of this in writing without being accused of improper fact-finding, but it's obviously much more effective to simply show you. So let's do that now. Welcome back. To demonstrate, I'm going to start with this SIG P320 that's basically in its stock configuration. That is, this gun is basically in the same configuration.
He has a SIG P320, yeah, which was recently getting a lot of backlash because of the drop test and stuff.
To point out some of the essential parts of a handgun, these same parts would exist on pretty much every handgun, at least of this semi-automatic type. So let me start by pointing out a few of them. This one comes with a standard 21-round magazine. Comes from factory just like that. You can buy a similar version that comes with a 17-round magazine that fits flush. And so it comes with 21 or 17-round magazine. It has a standard full-size grip. It has a factory trigger, which has a pull weight of about 7 pounds.
Yeah, my Glock 17 full-size grip.
The firearm. It has this little takedown lever, which is small, and you may have trouble seeing it, but we're going to talk about that some later. And that's what you use to remove the slide and disassemble the firearm. And the entire gun is designed around the automatic cycling mechanism. That is, when you pull the trigger and fire a round, right when that happens, it automatically will rack the slide back, eject the round, the spent cartridge out of the gun. It will grab a new round out of the magazine, put that round into the
chamber,
into the barrel, and it'll be ready to fire another round the next time you pull the trigger. So this is a semi-automatic firearm. Now, I want to use this handgun to illustrate first California and the majority's argument as applied to this obviously typical and very common handgun, and then I want to show you that the same argument would apply to other parts of the firearm and to this firearm as a whole. Now, as a reminder, California's argument, which the majority's adopted here, is that a magazine that holds more than 10 rounds is not an arm protected by the Second Amendment. So this 21-round magazine that comes from the factory or a 17-round magazine is not an arm protected by the Second Amendment. Now, California acknowledges that a magazine is necessary to make the firearm function. But they argue
yes.
that because you can replace the standard magazine with one that holds fewer rounds, 10
Correct.
rounds or less, then these higher capacity magazines are not an arm and thus wholly unprotected by the Second Amendment. Now, the problem with California's argument is that, as I pointed out in oral argument, the exact same argument would apply to essentially every part on this firearm, which
Correct.
would mean that essentially nothing on this firearm.
Yeah, because if you're gonna do it to one part, then what's to say you're going to do it to all the parts? And they have been doing it to some parts, right? They've been doing it to the trigger group. They've been doing it to the magazine group. They've been trying to do it to threaded barrels and whatchamacallit, silencers, right? They're trying to fuck with everything, and I'm sick and fucking tired of it. Fuck these people.
Protected by the Second Amendment.
Fuck California. Bunch of pieces of shit.
Now, oral argument, I asked California.
I want to fucking stick my gun and pull the trigger on all these motherfuckers. Fuck these people. Fucking with everything.
So take a look again at this handgun. What you see on here are iron sights. You have a front and a rear iron sight. And the way that you fire this handgun, the way you aim it is you take
if the United States were to get into some kind of conflict on home grounds, now they would be wanting firearms. Oh, protect me. I need protection. Please protect me. You fucking piece of... I'll protect you with my bullet in your goddamn face. Fucking pieces of shit.
And that's how you hit what you're aiming at with this firearm. These are iron sights. They're probably the most common sighting system for a handgun. But all you have to do on this particular handgun to change out the sights is remove 2 screws in this slide right here.
Correct.
And the back sight comes off. And when you do that, you can put the 2 screws back into
it's basically the same way with the Glock. The Glock slide, any of these small slides on pistols, to get rid of the iron sight or the sight that's here. There's gonna be a screw. There's gonna be like a little screw head you gotta unscrew underneath.
Iron sights would have a red dot optic. Let me illustrate that by just taking a slide where I've already installed the red dot optic, and here you go. See, so now you have this back iron sight's been taken off, and here's a red dot optic. Now, in the hands of an experienced shooter, this red dot optic allows you to shoot the firearm more quickly, to get on more quickly, to
basically get your sights on the target quickly.
So it's obviously much more
get your side picture and everything quickly.
Unlawful or wrong purpose, but if it's being used for a lawful purpose,
quickly, think fast, quickly.
It makes the firearm better for that intended purpose. So this firearm would be better for self-defense or competition, recreational shooting, or hunting.
Same with the magazine size. In self-defense situation, you don't want 10. You want more bullets. You want like 18, maybe even 20 bullets, right? If anything, you'd want like a fucking hefty 30 or more, right? Even a 60. Even then, a 60 wouldn't be enough. You want the fucking 100, the fucking drum mags, man.
But it also makes the firearm work better for its intended purpose.
Hey man, if you're gonna go all out, you need the drum mags.
You may think that's pretty intuitive about the sighting system for a firearm, but the same thing is true about basically every part of this gun. Let's take a look at a part that's maybe a little less intuitive, which is that takedown lever that I talked about earlier. This little piece here, it's necessary for the operation of the firearm.
Yes.
It's a tiny little piece that you need.
Yeah, so any of the all of the components in the firearm, you cannot take one of those pieces out, because it would just render the gun inoperable. You literally need all the all the tiny pieces, all the mechanisms, all the components. You fuck with any of that, that gun is inoperable.
Firearm, and so you would think, well, since it's necessary, then it must be an arm protected by the Second Amendment. But not under California's law.
Yeah, under California's law.
You can replace this factory takedown lever
with a different one.
Factory takedown
lever, because there's another piece.
Pedal. And when you do that, you replace it. You put the slide.
So they're basically
now the firearm
different.
Is a lot more controllable under recoil. You can, just like with the red.
Yeah, different modular pieces.
You can do faster
So that is an accessory, right? And under their pure purview or preferences, they could potentially ban that piece, right? Because it's an accessory. It's not a stock thing.
Again, as with the red dot sight, as with the higher capacity.
Yeah, same with the red dot.
This particular takedown lever makes the gun
If it's not stock, it's basically you can't have it.
also makes the gun more effective for its intended purpose when it's
Right. So basic with the stuff I have on my rifle, with the Juggernaut tactical and the fixed mag stuff, that would be that could potentially be banned too, because it's an accessory.
when it's used properly. So under
Right.
California,
So under California's rules, it's kind of fucked.
takedown lever is not protected.
Right. So basically, they could say, "Oh, that gun you have, I see you have something we don't like. I'm sorry." That's it. And it's subjective too. Especially when it comes to accessories.
It would not be protected, and the reason is.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Here's
Yeah.
a bunch of grips that I've accumulated over the years. I'm just going to pull a couple out here. This is a nice small grip, a nice small light grip. This is a big heavy grip. So what you can do on this firearm is you can remove the slide.
Yes.
Remove that takedown lever. Take what's called the fire control unit.
Control
out of the
unit, yep.
firearm. This is actually the firearm.
Yeah.
Under the ATFs.
So if for the SIG for these SIGs, they have this type of mechanics. For Glocks, they have like some kit pieces you need to buy.
And you can take this fire control lever and you can put it inside this smaller grip, and you could use this grip for, say, self-defense purposes because it's very concealable, it's light, it's easy to carry, and indeed, you'll see that's pretty much the type of grip that I have on my self-defense firearm. Or you could take this much heavier grip with aggressive stippling on it and with a flared mag well, and you could put this fire control unit in there, put the takedown lever on, and then you put the slide back on.
Yeah,
Now
SIG
you have a
320s are
firearm
more
that is
modular
much
and
better at being able to take quick follow-up shots, hit what you're aiming at, and so this grip, all of these grips under the majority in California's logic, could be banned because if they were misused, they would make the firearm more dangerous, and you could put a different type of grip on if you wanted to. So you might ask yourself, well, what part of this pistol would be protected as an arm under the majority's logic? Well, I suppose California would eventually be forced to say, well, this part, the FCU, I guess, is the arm protected by the Second Amendment. Every other part that you added, as I've just shown.
yeah, basically all the other, right? If this is now the main component, right? Well, all the other components are just accessories now.
Every other part that you added you could easily be characterized, just like the magazine,
Correct.
as an accessory.
I didn't even have to watch this video to understand what this fucking judge is thinking. Any person who knows mechanics of machinery or anything would know you're being fucking retarded here. You need to stop being fucking retarded. This is why I hate lawyers and paralegals and all those fuckheads sometimes, because it's like you're doing something fucking shady, you fuckhead. Fucking with everything.
That you add to the firearm, and therefore could be banned.
Especially when you know that paralegal or lawyer is obviously attacking one of the constitutional amendments. It's like, dude, what the fuck are you doing?
The reason is, let me
Fuck
show you
off.
another FCU. This is the FCU from my competition gun. It has a really nice trigger, a nice light, crisp trigger, and has some parts replaced in here. It makes for a really nice trigger.
Yeah.
You can upgrade the trigger to make it much nicer.
Right.
And so, because of that, under the majority's logic, you could even ban this FCU, or at least.
And yeah, that's what And that's what they're doing with the FRTs, the reset triggers and stuff like that.
Most of it as simply an accessory under the and now protected by the Second Amendment. Now, most of what I've shown you could, I suppose, be conceptualized as upgrades. You say, well, that's an upgraded trigger, and that's an upgraded takedown lever, and that's an upgraded grip.
Right. But there's still an accessory.
It works both ways.
Yeah, exactly.
I've just shown you how you could easily improve the sights, how you could easily
Yeah, it's just a simple modification that they created.
trigger. You could do the same thing with the barrel.
Exactly.
But you could easily downgrade all of these factory parts of the handgun to make the firearm less accurate and slower. You could put in worse than factory trigger. You could require worse sights than what it comes with from the factory. You could require a grip be put on that hurts the speed and accuracy. Indeed, this type of
which they already do, right? You already have the stupid grips that fuck up your shooting, right? the flared the flared grip and where you can't grip the gun properly.
Precisely what the majority is actually requiring in this case. As we mentioned earlier, this comes from the factory with a 21-round magazine, or it comes with a 17-round magazine in a slightly different configuration. But the majority is requiring that these factory standard parts be replaced with worse than factory parts,
Correct.
10-round magazine. So when we take everything off that the majority might
they're literally trying to downgrade the whole thing. And it's just like, if you're trying to downgrade the whole firearm in general, why not just ban the whole thing? Oh, but we can't ban it under the Second Amendment, so we have to do it another way. You fucking bitches. We have to render your guns useless somehow. Fucking cunts.
What we're left with, at best,
how about I render my fucking knife right into your fucking skull?
And of course, you can't shoot this, right? It's inoperable.
You wanna fucking take my gun? Yeah, take my guns away. That knife is going to your skull next. Or if it's not a knife, it's a fucking screwdriver. Or a fucking kitchen knife.
It could be replaced with a different part that would be less useful.
Fucking politicians.
And that could be said for pretty much
judges and lawyers. So annoying.
And the same problem with the majority's argument applies to other aspects of the firearm that are less easily shown in the video, including fundamental aspects of how this firearm operates. At oral argument, I asked California's counsel why California couldn't ban the automatic cycling mechanism altogether.
Correct.
Under California's argument. And again, I don't think he understood what I was talking about. Well, this handgun uses that mechanism. This uses the automatic cycling mechanism. And this semi-automatic auto-loading operation...
Well, yeah. Notice how he's all like, he didn't know what I was saying. That's because he doesn't know firearms. He doesn't know any of the mechanics. He doesn't know how a firearm cycles. He doesn't know how a firearm works. He's literally a piece of shit who just pushes papers and fucks with people. Fuck that guy. I want to stab him. Fucking piece of shit.
Today, and is used for self-defense. But other mechanisms exist for handguns, including, probably most obviously, the revolver mechanism. Here's a revolver. Think of the 6-shooter from the old Western movies, right? You can have a revolver, which is not automatic. Or you could have, and there's different types of revolvers. There's single shots, there's double actions. You could have the lever action, you could have a pump action, you could have a single shot.
Actually, I don't want to stab him. I want to see him squirm. I want to break every fucking bone in his body for being a fucking stupid idiot. Lawyer. Who's older than me, who should know more, who should know better, but for some reason he's a fucking asshole. Fuck that lawyer. Fuck California. Bunch of fucking cunts.
Because any of these single types of mechanisms are not essential to make this handgun work, and thus, or make a handgun work, and thus are not an arm under the Second Amendment, California could ban the whole semi-automatic mechanism altogether.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what happens when they fucking take away all the guns. And then there's crime fucking nonstop when there's already crime all over the fucking place. People stealing shit. Not too long ago, right? The streamers who got got caught up in the stalking situation.
Together, forcing everyone to use revolvers or single-shot handguns or worse.
All right. Well, once your guns are taken away, you can't protect yourself against stalkers.
Terrible grip.
Sucks, right?
Ultimately, California's argument, which the majority has unwisely adopted here, is based on the unstated assumption that there's some basic, I guess, unadorned, without any accessories firearm that would be protected as an arm under the text of the Second Amendment, but everything else is merely an unprotected accessory that's been added to that firearm that's unprotected. And I hope you can tell from this video that that idea is simply unrealistic. It could never be applied in real life. Like many of this court's ideas about the Second Amendment,
Correct.
it stems from a basic misunderstanding of how firearms
Yeah,
work.
basically everyone in California, basically all the lawyers in California who's trying to fuck with guns, they don't know what the fuck they're talking about on purpose. They're doing it on purpose. Fuck those guys.
How such a rule would be administered in real life.
They need to get
Ultimately, the only
fucking
rule
cut.
that makes sense and comports with reality and the text of the Constitution is that the entire handgun here, including the grip, this takedown lever, the slide and barrel, the sighting system, and this magazine are all part of the arm within the meaning of the Second Amendment. Thank you for watching.
Correct. 100%. This is why I hate California. It doesn't make sense what they're doing in fucking California. Fucking retards. I hope they all fucking burn in hell. Oops. Oh. Alright. I guess let's see what's going on with P. Diddy's case with this dumb bitch.
The woman who has been described as the Ghislaine Maxwell to Sean Combs' Jeffrey Epstein has just broken her silence regarding these allegations surrounding her and her former boss. What does this statement mean?
We're gonna
for
speed this
Christina
up because
Quorum?
this is
Why
kind of
make it
long.
now? And does this give us a clue about what role she may play in Sean Combs' upcoming criminal trial? We're going to bring on acclaimed criminal defense attorney to the stars, Bradford Cohen. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law and Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. A lot of people have been spoken out about Sean Diddy Combs since his legal troubles first began in 2023. However, there is one name in particular, one person allegedly connected to him who has really not said anything until now. And this could be significant. We are talking about Christina Quorum. Now, for those of you following the Combs saga, particularly our coverage of it here on Sidebar, you might be saying, why does that name sound so familiar? Christina Quorum has been described in lawsuits against Combs as the rapper's right-hand person.
Yeah, she's the one who's been
Actually, as reported by the Hollywood Reporter,
right antagonizing people too.
in a Facebook post writing, KK keeps everything in my life and my business running. She's been my right hand for the last 8 years and has consistently proven to execute and get S done. Don't know how I'd function without her. It's a very interesting connection to have a relationship that he describes, considering he's facing now criminal charges of racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, transportation to engage in prostitution. And the thing is, she has been named as a defendant, not in the criminal case. She's not been charged with anything, to be very clear. But she has been named as a defendant and mentioned in various lawsuits. And in light of that, she is now speaking out for the first time. In a statement that was published by USA Today and first reported by Rolling Stone, she said the following, quote, "For months, horrific accusations have been made about me in various lawsuits regarding my former boss. These false allegations of my involvement are causing irreparable and incalculable damage to my reputation and the emotional well-being of myself and my family. I have never condoned or aided and abetted the sexual assault of anyone, nor have I ever drugged anyone. The idea that I could be accused of playing a role in or even being a bystander to the rape of anyone is beyond upsetting, disturbing, and unthinkable. That is not who I am, and my heart goes out to all victims of sexual assault. I am confident that the allegations against me will be proven to be untrue." So, what is she seemingly referring to? Well, how about the fact that she is listed as a defendant in an amended complaint filed this month by Ashley Parham, who claims that she was violently gang raped. And when I say violently gang raped, I mean the allegation that she was gang raped by comedian Drew Ski, NFL star Odell Beckham Jr.,
so
and violently
that's
assaulted
what
with a remote by Sean Combs. But here is
Oh, so that's Drewski's that's how Drewski got caught up in this shit, apparently? Yikes.
Complaint filed this month by Ashley Parham, who claims that she was violently gang raped. And when I say violently gang raped, I mean the allegation that she was gang raped by comedian Drewski, NFL star Odell Beckham Jr., and violently assaulted with a remote by Sean Combs. But here is where Christina Coram, or KK, comes in. Parham claims at one point,
So she's
Combs held a knife
claiming
to her
that she
and tried to
got
give her a Glasgow smile. But,
gang
quote,
banged by
defendant
them.
KK told defendant Diddy that she did not think giving plaintiff a Glasgow smile would be advantageous to their potential clients who they could sell plaintiff for sex to. Defendant KK then made a threat to plaintiff that they could ship her off anywhere in the world and that she would never see her family or anyone she knew ever again. So as we do multiple sidebars a day, particularly on the Combs case, I am so busy, I'm always running around, but I will tell you what, our amazing sponsor, Upside, makes at least buying my essentials as I go about my day an actual treat. You see, Upside is a free app that gets you cash back when you buy these things. So I pump my gas, I can use Upside. I go out to lunch at Chipotle, I can use Upside. Maybe get something at 7-Eleven, I can use Upside. Why not get cash back when I do all these things, right? And yes, this is actual real cash back. It's money that appears in your Upside app that you transfer right into your bank account. So once you have the free Upside app, you claim an offer for whatever you're buying on Upside, you pay as usual using a debit or credit card, you follow the steps on the app, you get paid. So to find out how much you can earn, you click the link in the description to download Upside, or you scan the QR code on screen, but make sure to use our promo code SIDEBAR because you'll get an extra 25 cents back on every gallon on your first tank of gas. There was also an accusation, I'm sorry if I have to get graphic here, there was an accusation that Combs had forced Christina Coram to use a syringe to insert an IUD into Parham. And apparently she and Combs argued over it, not over actually doing it, but that it wasn't going to work. And then there's this. When defendant Drewski finished raping plaintiff, defendant KK, Christina Coram, entered the room to examine the condition of plaintiff who was barely able to move or control her bodily functions. Defendant KK examined plaintiff to see if she needed assistance and was about to give plaintiff an IV fluid. Plaintiff cannot be certain if she did or did not receive such intravenous intervention. Defendant KK then opened a different bag, different than the one defendant Diddy removed the oil from, where plaintiff observed several medicine bottles, IV fluid bags, and other unidentifiable powder-like drugs. Defendant KK then removed a pill from one of the medicine bottles and gave it to defendant Diddy. And there were further allegations in the complaint that she needed to keep the plaintiffs in the case sufficiently drugged, that she carried around and gave out drugs, that she provided plaintiff with an IV, like I mentioned, which, by the way, is important because we know that one of the allegations in Combs' criminal case is that IV fluids would be used after prolonged, allegedly illegal sexual episodes, and that she tried to force one of the plaintiffs, an unidentified woman, to sign documents as well. By the way, in this case, she's being sued for racketeering violations, battery, assault, negligence, intentional and negligent infliction of emotional distress, unjust enrichment, aiding and abetting, sex trafficking, false imprisonment. But that is not the only lawsuit that Christina Coram was named as a defendant in. She was named in another suit by plaintiffs Latasha Forbes, Billy Cummings, Ian Fearon, Ahmad Jenkins, Fallon Matthews, LaQuay Applewhite, and Jane Doe, who claimed that, quote, she aided Combs in his abuse of men and women and basically covered up sexual assaults. She was also reportedly mentioned in other lawsuits, like one filed by a former employee, Phil Pines, who claims that Christina Coram would order him to clean up hotel rooms after Combs' wild sex parties. Again, another allegation in the criminal indictment against Combs. But remember, Christina Coram is not named as a defendant, neither is anybody else, but this is very interesting to hear that allegation. And maybe most famously, and the first time I personally had heard of the name Christina Coram was when she was named as a defendant in the lawsuit brought by Combs' former producer Rodney Lil Rod Jones, who claims harassment violation of the racketeering statute. He claims Coram manages the day-to-day of Combs' alleged criminal and sex trafficking enterprises. For instance, he alleges the following, quote, Mr. Combs' chief of staff, Christina Coram, KK, instructs her staff to retrieve drugs so she can provide them to Mr. Combs.
Okay, so yeah, this is basically some of the stuff we already know.
To be spiked with ecstasy. Actually, I want you to listen
because, right, Diddy was getting drugs somehow, constantly, right? So it had to be from someone close by.
Is the Ghislaine Maxwell to Sean Combs' Jeffrey Epstein. That's what it says. And of course, we know that she has been the associate of deceased financier Jeffrey Epstein, who ended up getting convicted of sex trafficking charges, sentenced to 20 years in prison. But quote, according to Mr. Jones, during the 13 months he lived and traveled with Mr. Combs, he witnessed defendant Coram openly order her assistants to keep Mr. Combs high off gummies and pills. Defendant Coram required all employees, from the butler to the chef to the housekeepers, to walk around with a black Prada pouch or fanny pack filled with cocaine, GHB, ecstasy, marijuana, and Tucci. According to Mr. Jones, defendant Coram wanted Mr. Combs' drug of choice immediately ready when he asked for it. According to Mr. Jones, defendant Coram ordered sex workers for Mr. Combs. On one occasion, she sent Mr. Jones a text message requesting that he call a particular sex worker. We have the message. According to Mr. Jones, defendant Coram ordered and distributed ecstasy,
We want
cocaine,
a particular
GHB, ketamine,
prostitute.
marijuana, and mushrooms
Please
to Mr.
get
Combs
them.
and his celebrity guests who were present on his rented yacht and in his homes in LA and Miami. According to Mr. Jones, on multiple occasions, defendant Coram forced him to carry Mr. Combs' drug pouch against his will. The pouches were always black, and several of Mr. Combs' staff carried black Prada pouches. According to Mr. Jones, defendant Coram also sent Mr. Jones to solicit sex workers for Mr. Combs. When the sex workers arrived at Mr. Combs' residence, defendant Coram would negotiate their price and would take them aside and pay them. By the way, he apparently claimed that when he spoke up to Coram about Combs allegedly groping him at one point, she allegedly told him, you know, Sean will be Sean. So now she makes this statement. And here's the thing. Again, she is not named as a criminal defendant in Combs' criminal case where he faces these charges that I mentioned before. But what role could she play? What does this statement say overall with respect to the lawsuits? But what does it also say about a potential role in the upcoming criminal trial? I am made of questions when it comes to this. So for that, I sat down with acclaimed criminal defense attorney Bradford Cohen, who has represented stars like Drake and Kodak Black, to get his.
Oh,
All
gross.
right, Bradford, good to see you again. Thanks so much for coming here on Sidebar. All right, what do you make of that
Wait, did you
statement
recently
from
help
Nicole?
Drake
And
on
why
his
make that
dumb
statement?
fucking thing recently?
Well, I think it's heating up, and I think she has to make that statement at this point because a lot of people are making accusations. I'm sure there's an issue in terms of the federal investigation and what's going on with the federal investigation, and if they're going to be interviewing her or using her as a witness. So my belief is all those things are coming to a head, and I think that now is the time that she had to come out with something to say, hey, listen, I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea what happened. I have no idea that this was even in the realm of reality, which I find hard to believe that she knew nothing about anything. I don't find it hard to believe about the sex trafficking thing because I think, you know, and I've said this from the very beginning, is the proclivity towards hiring prostitutes and paying them $10,000 a night for whatever, I think is something that the government is associating with the sex trafficking and making that their, you know, their crown
Also,
jewel
people will.
in the-
I'm
in
pretty
the,
sure
in the
people will
case.
be looking
I
at
find
that in
that to
terms
be,
of the
very
IRS or
difficult
any like government
wrestle with,
body.
because in normal sex
To
trafficking
get
cases,
that
you think of
amount of
something a lot
money just
different
all of the
than those
sudden
accusations.
right
And I do believe
into your bank account.
that she didn't know the details of everything that was going on. I don't really find it plausible to believe that she didn't know anything was going on.
Here's the question I have, and I'm not surprised this statement came out now after she was more specifically mentioned in this amended complaint that I talked about earlier with Ashley Parham. You know, she's really, there's specific episodes where Christina Coram is allegedly partook in this you know, behavior, and these are allegations. But why not just remain silent or just have her lawyer say, we intend to fight this out in the court and not the court of public opinion. We deny all the accusations. Why make a statement? Is there a legal advantage? Because that statement is not going to come into a courtroom. It's not going to be used as evidence per se. Does it help her in these civil cases? Is there a legal significance to make a public statement like this? What do you think?
Legal significance, I don't believe so. I think that it's more goes towards, you know, a jury that would be possibly reading a newspaper, knowing about the case, reading something, seeing something. It's just like when anything happens, you know, it's good to hear from the lawyer. It's better to hear from the individual if they're saying mea culpa, I didn't know what was going on, I had no idea, things of that nature. And I'm sure, like I said, now that she's more formally named, now that you know, it's getting very close to trial time, I think it was a smart idea to come out with some kind of statement. I don't see this statement hurting or helping her. You know, it's one of those innocuous statements that's essentially like, let's wait and see how things turn out. I'm going to be vindicated. You know, that's kind of the standard when it comes to these statements that are made and the individual that are stating it. It's just, like I said, I think the heat is starting to be turned up on a lot of these different cases, criminal and civil. And I think now is the right time for her to come out and say, hey, listen, I don't know anything that's going on. I'm sure she's employed someplace else. I'm sure she has some other business that's going on. And my belief is it's probably hurting those relationships she has being associated with Sean Combs.
I want to go back to the criminal case. Do you believe a statement like this, and given the allegations against her, does this give you a clue about her potential role in this criminal case? In other words, do you think she could be called as a witness by either the prosecution or the defense?
Yeah, I couldn't imagine any universe where she's not called as a witness by either the defense or the prosecution. If someone is an individual's quote unquote right-hand man or right-hand woman, and they know the intricacies of what is going on day to day, their schedule, what they do, you know, not so much an MO, a modus operandi of like, you know, a crime, but maybe an MO of what they do day to day, right? And I always say this, like an MO day to day would be, hey, I go have breakfast at this certain place, lunch at this other certain place. This is where I go in the afternoon. These are the calls that I make during the day. If she knows kind of his day to day schedule and how he operates, the individuals that he knows, the individuals that came to see him at his office or his home, and she was there during that time period, I believe that she would either be useful for the defense or useful for the prosecution. Now, my guess is she would probably be a prosecution witness because when you become a defense witness in these type of cases, the prosecution starts looking at you very hard to see if there's a charge that they can file against you. And I don't.
Johnny Somali's illegal No, he did not make a fucking meme coin. Stop.
I don't see a lot of these people surrounding Sean Combs becoming defense witnesses, as opposed to when an FBI agent knocks on your door and says like, hey, you're a subject, but you're not a target yet. We want to talk to you about these things. And you could become a target depending on, how we feel you fall into this whole thing. And then all of a sudden, people come to the table with a lot different versions of different things that happened during their time with the individual who they're prosecuting.
See, here's my question, right? Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's a strong possibility she could be a witness at this case because you think about it, think about what he's charged with, right? This racketeering conspiracy, this sex trafficking operation, this criminal enterprise. If I'm sitting on that jury, and by the way, we've had this conversation since this case began, no one else has been criminally charged in this case. And it makes me wonder if she is called as a witness and is, again, that's what makes the statement so interesting, right? She didn't come forward and be like, I am ready to testify about all that I saw, all that I heard. I was forced to do things that I didn't want to do. She's basically suggesting that I didn't know any about this. It's abhorrent behavior. If she takes the stand as a prosecution witness and gives them and taking these allegations as true, gives them everything that they need. Yeah, I organized this, I cleaned up this, I did that. If I'm sitting on the jury, I'm wondering, why is she not sitting with Sean Combs as a criminal defendant? Can she be asked about that? Can she be asked, did you work out a deal? How come you're not criminally charged? I think that's a big question because out of everybody we've talked about, based on the allegations in the lawsuits, and it's a question of how much that actually is connected to the criminal case, she's like the central figure. If you're talking about a criminal enterprise, how's she not wrapped up into it? Unless these charges are not strong, or unless these allegations aren't real, unless she really had no part about it. See, that's where I'm struggling with her role in this. I think she's a very important player, but I don't know what she would testify to or what she'd be asked.
I will tell you, and just from experience, you have individuals that take the stand very often to testify against your client because they make deals. And a jury isn't stupid. You can bring that out. What kind of deal did you make? You actually get the letter of agreement that they have with the individual who's testifying if they are avoiding some sort of criminal liability or if they're going to get some kind of reward at the end. And everyone always says, oh, yeah, I talked to them. Maybe I'm hopeful that I can get a discount at the end. I'm sentenced to 90 months. I'm hopeful I might get some time off, but there's no promises, no coercion, all these different things. And that's how these go a lot. But I mean, I've had witnesses take the stand and I can't even tell you, they're testifying that they used to move 1,000 pounds of weed a week and the prosecutor's not going to prosecute them for that. And, juries aren't stupid. They see that. They understand the motivation behind it. Now, does that mean they're not going to believe anything that individual tells them? Probably not. They're still going to believe some things that they say, but it does go to their bias and it goes to, their credibility of whether or not they are expanding on their knowledge, whether or not they're, throwing some extra things in to make sure the prosecution is happy with their testimony and they can get a significant amount of time off. And I always use the Sammy the Bull Romano as an example, right? Here's a guy, they could have charged him with, 20 murders or something.
I don't know why it
that took place during, John Gotti days. And he ended up getting, a couple years in jail and then followed by a bunch of probation. But did that mean that the jury didn't believe him? No, the jury still believed him. And it's the way that it's sold. So like when Sammy the Bull took the stand, and he's got a podcast right now. I watch it every now and then. He's like, a relatable guy. He says listen, I was in the mob. I did these things. This is what they asked me to do, blah, blah, blah. And even though he was getting a deal, juries believed what he was saying because of the way that he sold it. And, that depends on the witness. It depends on the preparation of the witness. And it depends on a lot of things. I mean, I've had witnesses that I thought were complete garbage that jury believed. And then I've had witnesses that were complete garbage that, juries didn't believe, and I end up winning the case. It's one of those things. So I think she's a central figure. I do think she's a central figure. And if you're looking at it like a hierarchy, which the government always does, even you see this new case out of California with, they're blaming the Rolling 60s, all these gang members. They have a hierarchy, right? And they show the chart of where everyone falls. I mean, this is allegedly right under Sean Combs is this young lady.
So in other words, you are saying that the prosecution needs her. They need her to prove the different elements of these crimes. Because the other way of looking at it is, if you're a prosecutor, right, in the interest of justice, if Sean Combs did all these things and everybody who was helped him did all these things, you should be prosecuting everybody who was a part of it. Or the other way of looking at it is, they won't be able to prove their case against him with digital evidence alone or the victim's testimony. They need people who were a part of this. Am I understanding that right? That she is such a necessary component of their case? Because this is the way I look at it. Again, one of two reasons she wasn't charged. Either A, the allegations aren't true. B, three things. The allegations aren't true. B, there's not enough evidence against her. Or C, she is such a pivotal witness. They absolutely need her for this case. Because again, it came out during the Ghislaine Maxwell case, came out here. How can you be part of a criminal conspiracy if you're the only one a part of it? So in other words, you believe, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, you believe she is essential to the prosecution's case.
I think so. If I'm a prosecutor and I have an individual who is allegedly the right hand of the defendant that I'm charging, I can't imagine a universe where she's not a central figure, because just for background, let's just say for background, right? To know what his day-to-day is, to know, I mean, who orders 1,000 bottles of lube? Like who does these things, right? So if that is the person that he goes to, that's his general. And that general then gives orders to all the captains and colonels and everyone below her. How is she not a central figure? I find that hard to believe that they are not going to rely very heavily on some testimony from her, at least for background of all these different things.
Then going back to the statement, right? How does she testify in a way to say, yeah, I ordered all this, I did all this, but it's still true to her statement that I didn't do anything wrong, I didn't know anything that was going on. How does she do? Again, because she made a statement on purpose. I have to imagine she spoke to her legal counsel about this before making the statement. But if you're going to be testifying in May or June, and it's going to contradict the statement you just made, allegedly, I don't know. That's the part I'm struggling with.
Yeah, I mean, listen, is it possible that he compartmentalized all these different roles for every single person that's doing it? Hey, I need you to order this. I need you to do this. I just don't see him being that individual that would be on that that micro, that type of detail. My guess is he would go to his right-hand person and say, hey, we're having a party on Saturday. This is what we need, X, Y, and Z. Make sure it happens. Get it all done, et cetera, et cetera. That's what I would imagine someone of his type would do, as opposed to micromanaging those individual people and say, hey, you're in charge of the cake. You're in charge of ordering all the baby oil. You're in charge, I just don't see that happening. Mm-hmm. So my guess is that although she's saying she didn't know, my feeling is she's saying she didn't know the extent, is what she's probably going to say if she takes the stand. She's going to say, hey, I knew we had parties. I knew he liked prostitutes. Mm-hmm. I knew he, might have wanted marijuana there or whatever. And did I tell Bob Smith or did I tell Jane Smith to go do this or do that? Sure. But I didn't know how it all came together. I think that is more along the line of what she's saying, that I had no idea about the scope of it, as opposed to saying, oh, I didn't know he threw parties. I didn't know that, there was sex going on in room 4. I think that her statement more along the lines of goes to, hey, I just thought these were consenting adults. Who am I to say, hey, Sean Combs is having sex in room 4. I'm going to tell him not to. That's not my job. Right. I have no idea if he's paying that person, not paying that person. All I know is him, her, and her and him go into a room. Those are consenting adults. No one's ever complained to me that this was going on. No one said anything to me. I think that falls more in line with her statement than that she absolutely didn't know anything about anything. I don't think that's what she's saying. I think she's saying she didn't know the extent. She didn't know that things were going on that were allegedly illegal, that, the prostitution that was going on wasn't just consenting adults, that it was some sort of drugging and things like that. I think she's saying she had no idea about that.
And just to be clear, right, a lot of everything we're saying right now, we're speculating. We don't know for sure. And to be clear, right, Sean Combs hasn't been found guilty of any crime in connection with this case. His trial starts in May. He hasn't been found liable in any of these lawsuits. She hasn't been found liable in any of these lawsuits. She hasn't been criminally charged. The other possibility is she's not called as a witness at the criminal trial. She has no connection to the criminal case whatsoever. But so much of the heat, as you mentioned, in these civil cases has been coming forward, particularly with Ashley Parham. She had to release a statement with respect to the civil case. And that, she's basically, I actually wondered when I see, about irreparable injuries and the irreparable harm that she's suffering, that it might be hurting her livelihood. It might be hurting her career, that at this point she has to release a statement. It has nothing to do with the criminal case against Sean Combs, her former boss, but it just has to do with her own self. And maybe, I don't think she can file a defamation claim because these are claims in a lawsuit and you can't automatically file a defamation claim for being accused of something in a lawsuit. But I also thought it might have been a personal reason, a reputational reason, a business reason for her to make a statement like this.
There's a lot of reasons why people make these statements. It's not simply, and like I said, it doesn't move the ball really in the civil case or the criminal case. It's not a statement that she's making where, oh my God, she made that statement. Let's throw the case out. Let's not use her as a witness. That's not the key to these statements. And the key usually is all of a sudden you start getting notices from all these fancy clubs that you're a member of that say, hey, sorry, we're not renewing your membership. Once those letters start rolling in and the next deals and Nike says, hey, listen, it was nice doing business with you. We don't want to keep doing business with you. Those type of things that happen, obviously you have to address the elephant in the room. So I do think that was the major factor here, is that she was addressing the elephant in the room and saying, listen, I really don't know what was going on. I had no idea. All these accusations are flying around. It's ruining my life. It's ruining my family's life. She's got kids. This is a horrible, it's like whenever a defendant gets charged, it isn't just the defendant. And I say this, to everyone. It's the family members. It's the associates. It's the business partners. Everyone gets affected by any kind of criminal case that's going on against a defendant. It is a widespreading net. It's like throwing a rock in a pond, and there's ripples that affect you. You have no idea how badly this affects the kids, the families, the families obviously of the victims, the alleged victims. It's such a massive amount of people that I feel bad for everyone associated in this. Obviously, there's allegations here. No one's been convicted. So at this point where everyone is still, in the eyes of the law, innocent, I feel bad for everyone that's involved in this case, because there's just so many things that are going on. These alleged prostitutes that are getting dragged back in, they may have moved on. They may have jobs as baristas, and now all of a sudden they're being thrown into the press that they were, 5 years ago they were a prostitute. So there's a lot of people that get harmed with these cases, and that's really the balancing. That's a tough balancing act when it comes to either the defense or the government, where you're putting witnesses on the stand. Obviously, you want to do the best you can for your client, but it's so tough because you have witnesses that have moved on, that it's 3, 4, 5 years ago, that you're calling back and you want them to take the stand to say this didn't happen or this did happen.
And in a few months, when we see who the actual witnesses are testifying in the criminal case, these are names that will be splattered across the world because there's going to be so much coverage of the Sean Combs case. Final point, though, I read it before. I read it before, but like the accusations that she's facing, Bradford, in these cases, these civil lawsuits, are just so disturbing. I mean, there's very specific, very, very specific details about what she allegedly did. And yes, these are allegations, but a lot of these suits are from people who have identified themselves or had to identify themselves, and they're being public about accusations, not just against Sean Combs, but against other high-profile people, and now heard directly. That specificity in these lawsuits, what does that tell you?
So specificity in lawsuits is always something that makes them stronger, right? If I know the time, the date, I have phone calls or whatever, and I put that into my complaint, that's why I always try to make my complaints. A lot of attorneys always feel like, just do like a plain Jane complaint, throw it in there so they won't know, what the allegations are. I don't do that.
All right, I think that's it. They're just going on about how he would do his court case and everything. Anyways, yeah. Basically, she probably just threw out a statement because the court trial's coming soon. And I think she's on the defendant's side, too. So it's like, Alright, there you have it. P. Diddy right-hand woman. Long Crime Network. Alright, and we're done with that. Play some games. Oh, wait. Come on.
This is the KTLA 5 News at 4 o'clock. I'm Sandra Mitchell.
And I'm Rick Chambers. We're following breaking news out of Chatsworth today. An armed suspect firing shots at an LAPD helicopter.
You can see the scene. Our Gil Levis overhead. He's in Sky 5 with more details. Gil.
Sandra and Rick, this started somewhere around 2:30 this afternoon. This is the 20,000 block of Typico Street with the cross street of Labao. Now, the LAPD Devonshire Division officers responded to some sort of disturbance here at this home and at the elbow of this street here. And when they arrived, they found a man in the backyard, and he was very agitated. The airship was dispatched. The LAPD airship was dispatched to the story, and when they got on scene, the man pointed a rifle or a shotgun at that airship. That prompted a huge response by the LAPD. The SWAT team's on their way. But as I zoom in here, you're going to see the man laying down. He's conscious, he's alert, but he's not really moving a whole lot. He's moved his head and his legs a little bit in the last half hour, but you can see on the table there he's moving his head once again. You can see on the table there the two weapons that he brought out and laid out on that table. Now, we understand the suspect here is not known to the homeowners, and they're saying that those weapons are not the owner's weapons. So at this point, the neighborhood is locked down. The neighborhood has been evacuated at this point, and now they're just waiting for the SWAT team to arrive
dude
to try to
just
bring this person into custody. That's the latest overhead up in
just
Sky
a
5.
random
I'll send it
fucking
back to you in the
dude.
studio.
Wait, what the fuck?
We begin tonight with breaking news in Chatsworth, where evacuations are underway due to an armed suspect who's been shooting at an LAPD helicopter. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the News at 6. I'm Rick Chambers.
And hi, I'm Courtney Friel. Our Gil Levis is live up in Sky 5 over the scene. Hi, Gil.
Hi, Courtney and Rick. Now you're seeing the suspect here pretty active. I'm going to pull out because he has just grabbed the shotgun here off the table. That's one of two weapons that the suspect has pulled out of this house or out of this location. Now, the suspect here is unknown to the owners of the home. The owners of the home are not there, but the whole area here has been evacuated. He's just now set down, and he's got a suspect here who's refusing to come out and continues to still refuse to come out. Even
Oh,
though
he's
he
like
knows the
making
SWAT team is
bullets and
here. That's
shit.
the latest overhead up in Sky 5. I'll send it back to you in the studio.
All right, Gil, if you can hang there, we'll come back to you.
5, I'll send.
5, you see SWAT this and get back up to Gil Levis and Sky 5, you see SWAT going in right now. What did we just miss, Gil?
Well, Courtney and Rick,
Oh, they got the
SWAT team
fucking.
made a breach of the front
They got the
door
little
as the man
fucking
was in the
RC car
backyard.
camera drone. Literally the stuff you see in Rainbow Six Siege. Yeah, they have that shit actually. Actually, all the Rainbow Six Siege shit you see, yeah, they actually all have that stuff that they all use. Yeah, those are actual tools that they use. Right, like the battering ram and shit.
He laid down on the ground there in a prone position with his hands behind his
I-
back. It looked like he was ready
I don't
to
think they have a
surrender. That's when
turret
the SWAT team moved
that
in,
they can
breached
just
the front
put
door,
up.
came in through the house, and made the arrest. The
They do have
suspect
the,
did not try to
the
struggle
Bishop,
with the officers. The
or that
shotgun's still
fucking
there on the
big-ass
table.
tank.
I'll come in tight so you can see those guns there. But the suspect is now in custody, and that's really good news for the neighbors here. They
And
can
then they
return
have
to their
the
homes
SWAT
shortly. But the
cars
man
and
now
shit.
in custody of the LAPD SWAT team. That's the latest overhead up in Sky 5. I'll send it back to you in the studio.
Yeah, Gil, I was fearful that he was going to harm himself while we were shooting at him or shoot up at you. It looked like he was pumping his rifle towards you guys at one point.
He was, Courtney. He picked up that rifle and was showing the airship that it possibly was not loaded. But in any event, we were concerned that he might try to harm himself or maybe shoot up at the helicopters.
And Gil, you said before this is not his home. Do you know why he picked this particular place?
You know, we're hearing, it's not confirmed yet, but we're hearing that the homeowner may have hired this man, who's said to be homeless, to clean or fix the garage area. But the homeowner has been gone from the home for about a month, and it appears that maybe that man moved into the home here and had access to the actual main home there. He said to be working on this little garage here in the center of your screen, but it appears that maybe he's been living there for a while.
Well, a peaceful
Oh.
outcome.
Strange. What? What the fuck? The Green New Deal. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez reminded us that she is one of the greatest orators of our time.
People are starting to put the pieces together. And, you know, I do think that, sorry, we're not, people are starting to put the pieces together.
Brain fart.
Thinking farts, AOC then dropped the stinker on the crowd.
And I don't want us to live like this anymore, Greeley. We deserve better than this.
Freely, we deserve better.
And this isn't just about
Build a
Republicans.
big bed.
We need a Democratic Party that fights harder for
Farts
us.
harder.
I think
Fights
I
harder.
just saw the funniest thing I'll ever see.
Yeah.
I think I just saw the funniest thing I'll ever see.
This isn't just about Republicans. We need a Democratic Party that fights harder for
Oh,
us.
that farts harder.
I just saw the
They're
funniest thing I'll
sniffing
ever
their
see.
own fucking smug. Got him. George Orwell's Animal Farm. Full audiobook. Oh my. Honestly, I kind of want to reread this. I might listen to it again. Who knows? Such a good book. Alright.